Hey everybody, welcome to the workshop. Today we're going to talk about the latest warbird released from E-flite. And something you've probably already noticed is that this is not a P-51 Mustang or an F-4U Corsair. This is a model of the Bell P39 Airacobra. And while I like P-51s and Corsairs as much as anybody else, it's really nice to see a model of one of the less popular warbirds. And the P39 is extra special to me because the Bell Aircraft Factory, which produced thousands of the full-scale P39s during World War II, well, it's just a short drive away from my home here in Buffalo, New York. So, let's crack this thing open and see what it's made of. First, let's cover the basics. The airframe is made of molded foam components. It comes pre-painted in this camouflage trim scheme. The decals are factory applied as well. And all of the various scale accent pieces that you see, they're included in the box. Most of them are pre-installed, but there are a few that are left up to you. Like most E-flite models, the P39 is available either in a bind and fly or a plug-and-play package. Both of those versions include pre-installed servos for all of the control surfaces, a brushless motor with a 3-bladed prop, and a 40-amp speed control. The primary difference is that the plug-and-play version does not include a receiver, while the bind and fly version does include a Spectrum-compatible receiver. And that receiver is equipped with SAFE Select stabilization. So if you're new to warbirds or four-channel airplanes, or you just want a little bit of help keeping the wings level while you fly the P39, SAFE Select can do that for you. And for those of you who are already comfortable flying these types of airplanes, it's a simple matter to turn off all of the stabilization features. The full-scale P39 had a lot of very unique features. For instance, it was one of very few aircraft of that era that had tricycle landing gear. And of course, E-flite's model replicates that setup. Here we have factory-installed electric retracts, and yes, the nose gear is steerable. Plastic strut covers and landing gear doors give it all a nice scale appearance. While the P39 is mostly pre-assembled, there are a few steps that are left up to you, and a printed manual will guide you through that process. The only area where I ran into trouble was with the elevator pushrod. It was simply too long to work with the hardware that's provided. It uses a plastic clevis on the elevator side and a Z-bend on the servo side. To correct this issue, I removed about 3/4 of an inch from the servo side of the pushrod, and then I reincorporated the Z-bend using Z-bend pliers. Now let's go back and talk about the P39's power system in a little bit more detail. This model is designed to be flown with either a 3-cell or a 4-cell LiPo battery of around 2200 mAh capacity. And while you would normally change the size of the propeller to accommodate different batteries, E-flite says that the stock propeller can be used with either configuration. Now, I've flown this airplane both ways, and I'm confident that most of us will go for the 4-cell route. And basically, 4 cells gives you a lot more power for just a small weight penalty. My only concern with using 4 cells is that the system pulls nearly 56 amps during static testing on the ground. And that's obviously well above the 40 amp limit of the stock speed control. Certainly this discrepancy lessens as the propeller unloads in flight. However, I feel like the stock speed control is probably undersized for this application. With all of that being said, I have not experienced any trouble from the power system during my flight testing of the Airacobra. Now I'd like to talk about the P39's flight performance. And up front, I have to say that my impressions of this airplane are really dominated by the incredible power that it has. With a 4-cell battery, we're talking about nearly 800 watts of power in an airframe that weighs less than 4 pounds. And that's a tremendous power-to-weight ratio in a box-stock airplane. And all that power manifests itself in the air with a very respectable top speed and superb climbing performance. Those pilots who like to do low-altitude full-throttle passes will really get their blood pumping with the Airacobra. And those of you who prefer vertical maneuvers such as hammerheads and really tall loops, the P39 delivers there as well. There's certainly no reason to keep the throttle pegged all the time with this model. In fact, most of my flight time is spent between half and 3/4 throttle, where the P39 still has excellent performance. I typically reserve full throttle just for occasional bursts. The P39 may be a warbird model, but I think it behaves more like a sport ship. I especially like how effective the ailerons are. Rolls are very axial, and they start and stop in an instant. Another high point for me is how this model performs knife edge flight. It locks in quickly and there's almost no coupling. Have I mentioned that this model comes factory equipped with split flaps? Well, it does. And while I don't think the P39 needs flaps, they're a nice touch and they really help slow things down for landing. Just keep in mind that full flaps add a lot of drag, so you want to carry some power during your final approach. This concludes my overview of the P39 from E-flite. Keep watching for a little bit more flight footage. Also, be sure to check out the written review in Model Aviation magazine. Thanks for watching.